Alright, welcome back. The two color coats are done, and today we're going to try and paint out the patches to make them disappear. So I want to briefly go over some of the techniques and the tools that we need to use in order to accomplish this. And then I'll show you a couple of the patches as I paint them out and try to make them disappear. So first off, let's talk about some of the information that we have available to us in order to accomplish these faux finishes. The first is books on color mixing recipes. I have several of these. This just happens to be one of them. And then I have two books on faux finishing that explain the techniques for getting the grain to look the way we want it to look. And one is the art of faux, and the other is decorative faux painting. And in the books they have some of the recipes that we might want to use to get the colors that we're looking for. And in this particular case, we're talking about walnut. So in the book Art of Faux, we go to the section on walnut, and it gives us the recipes and the different color choices that we might want to use in order to grain this to look like walnut. And when we come over, and there are four colors that they recommend. The first color is burnt umber. Now this is a simple artist oil that you might find an artist or a painter using. So burnt umber, we have burnt sienna, we have castle black, and then finally we have ultramarine, which is a dark blue color. And then you sort of mix those colors up, and then you continue to mix them until you get the shade of dark or the shade of brown that you're looking for to simulate that walnut. So I use the same oil varnish that I use for coating the entire stock. And I simply mix in the colors with the varnish, and the varnish then is a binder for the colors. And then I use my brushes in order to simulate the grain on the stock. Now we've got several brushes that we're using. The first is a sort of a small artist brush that I can use to sort of color the broader areas. And then I have this very fine brush that I'll use for actually painting in the grain. And then finally this soft brush, I use this soft brush and I sort of feather out all those colors. And by feathering it out, you don't get those hard lines that you might get if you were using it as a brush stroke. So why don't I take you over to the bench and we'll try painting out one of those patches. Now graining isn't something that you do all in one step. There's usually multiple layers that have to go on. The first layer, which is the layer that I'm working on now, it's a color coat. It's a base coat. What I'm trying to do is color the patch itself so that it resembles the surrounding wood. All right. So you'll notice I have a white paper plate that I'm using, and by using the white paper plate, I'm able to better discern the colors that I'm trying to mix. And right now I have a little bit of varnish, and then of course the colors that I mixed out of the four colors that we had talked about earlier. All right, so we'll just take the small brush and we'll dab a little bit of varnish on it, and then come into that mixing color, and then from there we'll go right over to the patch itself, and then we begin to just try to color that. Now that one is actually a little bit dark, so we want to lighten that a little. So I'll add back in a little bit of burnt sienna, and yeah, much better color. And I'll just let that rest there for a while. It'll set up here. I'll come back and I'll get the top of it. And we'll just run that right down along the whole length of that patch and just try to draw that color out so when it dries, it actually begins to resemble all the surrounding wood. You just darken that up just a hair. And once I've got that so I like the looks of it, with the broader brush I'll follow some of the darker grain lines. Then I'll take the feather brush and I'll just sort of feather that out so we can get rid of some of those harsh lines. And I'm not afraid to use my fingers to help blend it in. And as I was saying, this is really the first coat, and we can go back in. Once we've got that color so that it matches fairly closely, we can go back in and then start trying to paint in the grain so that it actually begins to disappear. And of course the whole purpose of faux is we're trying to fool the eye. Now, because I'm mixing the colors with the varnish will begin to set up and dry like a regular, like you would expect a regular varnish to do, and that'll help bind the colors and keep them in place. Now, eventually, when we've got all the colors put in and blended the way we want them, then we'll go back and we'll start putting our top coats on, and the top coats will again help bind those colors, and you won't be able to scratch them off. So they'll, in essence, it'll just become a permanent part of the coloring of the stock. All right. All right, so remember what I said earlier, that fauxing is a series of layers that we need to put down. And the first layer that we've done is just the color layer, trying to blend in the color of the patches so that it matches the surrounding wood. So I'm going to show you that, and you'll notice that not all of the first layers or first coats were able to fully color the patch, and we'll have to go back and do a second or maybe even a third color coat in order to paint out that patch itself. When we get that done, then we'll go back and start painting in the grain so that the patch actually blends into the surrounding graining structure as well. That's the first coat, and I'm going to continue to work on that, coloring those patches until the blend is where I like them. Then I'll bring you back at that point and show you using the small brush painting in the grain, and again trying to blend that patch in so that it more closely resembles the surrounding wood. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.